I have not treated my MS with any recommended MS drug because I have not seen any convincing scientific evidence that any drug has a notable effect on the long-term progression of multiple sclerosis. People accuse me of being anti-pharmaceuticals, but this is not true. If there was a drug that was convincingly demonstrated to significantly slow long-term progression, I would probably take it. But I haven't seen it yet. First of all, the various drug trials which have led to drug approvals by the FDA were, in my opinion, far too short to allow any inference of the long-term value of the drugs. And furthermore, there are two recent large studies, one by the renowned neurologist Dr. George Ebers, and the other by UBC researchers, comparing the progression of those on either Copaxone or interferon for more than 10 years with those who did not take any drugs. Both studies found that those on the drugs and those not on the drugs suffered the same amount of disability over the long term. And such clear results demonstrate to me that these drugs most likely have no long-term benefits. The bottom line is these studies provide solid evidence that a person taking those MS drugs would, over the long term, end up with about the same level of disability as the person that did not. And needless to say, the person that did not take the drugs did not have to suffer any of the potential side effects. What's more, despite the availability of those drugs, it seems to me that the number of MSers in wheelchairs, walkers, and canes has not declined. So what is going on here? Why are MS patients not being told by their neurologists that those MS drugs most likely don't work in the long run? Why aren't the MS societies posting the currently available studies and letting people with MS know that there is evidence that these drugs have little to no effect on very long-term progression? And why do governments not demand that the pharmaceutical companies conduct ongoing studies to determine the long-term value of the most recently introduced MS drugs? It bothers me because I question why MS patients are injecting or swallowing MS drugs that may cause serious side effects or even death, but have not been proven to be effective in the long run. And why are taxpayers around the world paying billions of dollars for MS drugs that have demonstrated to have no long-term effect? We need to challenge pharmaceutical companies to provide hard evidence that their drugs work in the long run and significantly slow MS progression for most. We need to challenge our MS societies around the world to demand the same evidence and to provide objective, science-based information on the long-term value of MS drugs. And I encourage my fellow MSers to challenge their neurologists on the reality of the effect of these drugs on the long-term progression of your multiple sclerosis. This information will not be given to you by your neurologist or an MS society. This is a different way. This is MS Hope. Visit mshope.com to discover the drug-free strategies that are being used by thousands of MS patients around the world.